Welcome to Night Trip. Tonight, we open the pages of a forgotten memory, a journey no one saw. The rain fell softly against the high stone arches of the ancient watchtower. Outside, the world was wrapped in a quiet, endless shadow. Inside, the only warmth came from a dying hearth, casting long, peaceful, flickering shadows across the cold stone walls. An old cartographer named Eldrin sat alone at his heavy oak desk. Spread before him were maps of a lifetime. Maps of towering snow-capped peaks, emerald valleys untouched by time, crystal-clear fjords reflecting the autumn stars, and golden coasts where the ocean met the sky in perfect harmony. For decades, Eldrin had traveled to the farthest corners of the realm. To the eyes of any stranger, he had lived the grandest of lives. He had stood atop the highest cliffs, watched the sunrise paint the clouds in shades of deep gold and purple, and breathed the purest air of the wild forests. Yet, as his weathered fingers gently traced the edges of a map depicting a magnificent coastal valley, a familiar ache settled deep within his chest. He remembered standing on that very cliff years ago. The wind had been warm, carrying the scent of wild pine and salt water. The view was breathtaking enough to make a man weep. But as Eldrin reached out his hand to point at the glowing horizon, his fingers grasped only the empty air. There was no one beside him. No one to lean against his shoulder. No one to whisper, "Look how beautiful this is." The beauty was undeniable, but without a shared soul, it felt heavy. It felt like holding a precious treasure in a locked room, with no one to ever see it. Eldrin dipped his quill into dark ink and stared at the parchment. He recalled the ancient pine forest of Aethelgard. He had spent 3 autumns there, mapping the winding rivers and hidden waterfalls. He remembered the hypnotic sound of water falling over mossy stones, the golden leaves drifting down like quiet snow, and the warm orange glow of the evening sun piercing through the tall trees. It was a paradise on earth, but night after night, as Eldrin sat by his small campfire beneath a canopy of endless stars, the silence of the forest grew louder than the waterfall. He would prepare a warm meal, only to look across the fire at an empty log. He would discover a hidden lake of crystal waters, only to realize that the memory would exist solely in his own mind. Fading slowly as he aged, eventually disappearing into nothingness. He had seen the wonders of the world, yes, but he had experienced them in total solitude. The dream of wandering free, of seeing every horizon, had brought him endless beauty. Yet it had left his heart cold, for human joy was never meant to be a solitary mirror. It was meant to be a shared reflection. Every mountain peak he climbed reminded him of the valleys of his own loneliness. Every vast sea he crossed only emphasized the vast distance between his heart and another person. The rain outside the tower began to fall in a steady, gentle rhythm. Eldrin leaned back against his wooden chair, letting his tired eyes rest upon the flickering candle. Why could he never truly settle? Why did the grandest vistas fail to bring peace to his restless soul? Because the heart does not seek landscapes, it seeks a home. And a home is not made of mountains, rivers, or ancient stone. A home is found in the quiet understanding between two people, in a shared glance at dusk, in a hand held during a quiet stroll, down an ordinary road. Eldrin realized that an ordinary garden, shared with someone he loved, would have been infinitely more beautiful than all the uncharted continents of the world. The urge to wander had not been a quest for discovery. It had been an escape, a search for something, anything, to fill the quiet void inside him. But nature, in all its majestic indifference, could only offer scenery. It could never offer warmth. The solitude touched his thoughts like a quiet, persistent cold, a gentle reminder that despite all his journeys, his hands were still cold, and his hearth was still quiet. Now, the ink was dry upon his final map. The journey was over. Eldrin slowly closed the heavy leather journal containing his life's work. He felt no anger, no bitterness, only a soft, heavy melancholy. A quiet surrender to the truth of his life. He had walked the lonely paths so that others might find their way. Perhaps these maps would guide future travelers. Perhaps two lovers would one day use his map to find that coastal cliff. Perhaps they would stand together beneath the golden sunset and hold hands where he had once stood alone. That thought brought a subtle, peaceful comfort to his weary heart. The wind outside softened into a low breeze through the pines. The rain rhythmically tapped against the window pane, like a gentle lullaby sung by the night itself. Eldrin closed his eyes. He no longer needed to search the distant horizons. He no longer needed to run from the quiet. He let the air fill his lungs, slowly, and released a long, deep breath. The weight of all those empty, beautiful places slowly lifted from his shoulders. The candle flame flickered one last time and gently faded away, leaving the room in safe, velvety darkness. And somewhere in that darkness, the maps remained, silent witnesses to a journey no one had seen. The rain continued to fall softly as Eldrin drifted into a deep, peaceful, unbroken sleep.